Pretty good day for Colby. Obviously, probably the biggest hit to date in a time where we needed it with damage and with guys on base and doing damage. I mean, that was, there was a little bit of an exhale, I think, getting a big hit with runners in scoring position that changed the score, against a good pitcher and somebody that Colby hasn't hit in the past. So a lot of things lined up there and just an overall good win for us.
What did you think about the way Fiers bared down after kind of the rocky start?
Yeah, I mean, the first inning has plagued us a couple of times, and him specifically. So limiting it to one run in the first was big, and then he made good adjustments with his changeup. When he's throwing strikes and getting guys into swing mode, the changeup works, and he's a tough pitcher to pick up with the high fastball, a little bit of a cut, and the changeup. So. I thought he did it. I thought he did well to get to where he got in the game. He was frustrated at the end, giving up a couple hits, but then Will Harris came in and bailed him out. So, but we keeping us, in the game the way he did, limiting that offense to, just the one run until he left the inherited runners in. But it was a good day for him.
How big was it for him just to minimize that damage in the first and get out of that like he did?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like him to not get into trouble first. That would be the priority. But the lead off, the first innings, the teams are hitting pretty good against us in the first. So it's a tough hole to dig out of if it gets too big. And to be able to come through the middle of their order, after the Ortiz hit, you have first and third, no outs. To think that nobody scores is a tremendous effort.
Were you surprised Buchholz threw the fastball there to Colby?
Yeah, I mean, he's I think he was trying to surprise Colby. He'd thrown him so much off speed the entire day, really. And Colby had put up good at bats prior to that. I didn't have a lot to show for it, with the pop up after getting ahead, and then the strikeout deep in the count. So I think he tried to trick him a little bit, and Colby capitalized on a middle fastball that we've seen before out of Colby. He has that edge about him when the big spot's on, and I love the position he's in hitting, and I have a lot of faith in him when he gets up there.
That was a familiar role spot for Will Harris. Used him a lot.
And bases loaded, trouble.
Do you like having that kind of wild card that you can kind of pull out your back?
Oh, I mean, I don't like getting into the trouble. I think that's the key. Is we got to find out how not to do it, but. I love Will's demeanor in those situations. When you get in a situation with so many guys on base and troubles there. I mean, the normal human comes in and wants to avoid giving up any runs, and Will does a good job of minimizing that. A lot of times he doesn't give up any runs in those situations, but if you're trying to pitch too careful to not give up. Any sort of contact, you end up in trouble. So his demeanor, his approach, his pitch quality, he's got his good breaking ball going right now. I thought a couple of those that were close that were called balls, but those are not easy situations that I put him in, last season. But because of that, I have a ton of faith in him coming in and shutting it down.
Bottom of the order, especially like Valbuena coming up, seems like every time getting on base or finding a way. How big was the bottom of the order?
It's big. We haven't hit very well in the bottom of the order, and setting the top of the order when it comes around. We have a long lineup when we're good, and when we start clicking, it's a fun lineup that there's really no holes in. We haven't seen that type of consistency yet. We will, but. With Marwin down there at the bottom today, getting a couple hits, Louis get a couple hits. Jason Castro is probably the best 0 for 4 he's had in terms of being productive, getting some runners over, setting up the top of the order again. So we're going to need contributions from everybody. We can't just ride a hot Altuve or a hot Springer or a hot Correa. It's, obviously we hadn't won games when Colby was hot. So the team offense component and putting up good at bats in a row. I track this every day. I think today was one of our best days of just putting up good at bats and taking what the game gave us.
Altuve's triple, was that just him misreading the play, or?
It was a double.
Well.
He knows. I mean, he came over during the replay, which, I think the replays. I'll have to take another look at it. Some days I love that thing, and some days I can't stand it. We have it for a reason. It looked to me like it was, he was going to be safe, but that notwithstanding is. The ball's got to stop you, and the game didn't tell him to stop. I think he took for granted a little bit the moment that he thought he could cruise into third, and he got caught. You know, he knows it. He apologized for it. He feels terrible about it. Luckily, we tacked on the next inning because the seventh inning was a mess, and it could have really broke the game open for us. But his teammates picked him up by having a big eighth inning.